Welcome to What's Going On, the weekly podcast and videocast of First United Methodist Church in Yankton, South Dakota.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of What's Going On. I'm Pastor Katie here at First United Methodist, and I'm glad you could join me for this episode. First, I just want to run through some calendar things that are happening so that you are aware and can prepare yourself accordingly. The first that I want you to be aware of is that this Sunday, the 17th, I'm inviting you to wear your red shoes to worship if you have them. I recognize that not everybody has red shoes, and that's all right. But if you happen to have some, I'd love for you to wear them to worship. We're going to be celebrating Heritage Sunday, and I will tell you more about the red shoes during worship that day. And so that is happening this Sunday. Looking ahead on Thursday, May 21st, will be our Women's Night Out / 605 Teacher Appreciation Party out at Merle and Gina Brandt's. And that'll be at 6 p.m. and it is a taco potluck. They're going to be providing the meat. And so you're invited to RSVP to Gina Brandt to let her know if you want to bring a side or a dessert and what you're bringing so that we have plenty of toppings for our tacos. But that'll be happening again on Thursday, May 21st. So we want you to be aware of that. And then the 24th is Pentecost. And so we invite you to wear whatever red items you might have that day. So we're really leaning into the red for worship. And on that day, we have moved our fifth Sunday mission bucket offering to the 24th, which we know is the fourth Sunday. But we're doing that for two reasons. One, the fifth Sunday will be worshiping in the park with two other churches. And so we're not asking them to contribute to our mission. And two, the mission offering is going toward our Yankton Healthy Garden plots to help with subsidizing the costs of those and maintaining those and getting people interested in that. And then after worship on the 24th, we're going to head out there and do a little blessing of our garden plots, give you a chance to go see them. They've been doing a lot of work on those plots. I know that they've already begun doing some of the planting, but if you haven't been out there or driven past to see them, it's really worth a sight. It's very clear that there's a lot of investment in the plots that we have. And ours are very easy to find because the cross and flame is proudly displayed on our plots. And so that is happening on the 24th. And then that following week, we have our Vacation Bible School that's going to be held here at our church. And if you are not signed up yet, please make sure you get your kids signed up for that. I know we have a good group already going, but we'd love to have more. If you've got friends, kids, grandkids, neighbor kids, nieces and nephews that need something to do Thursday, Friday night and Saturday morning, 28th, 29th, and 30th, we'd love to have them come be a part of what we are doing. And so get them signed up. We're also still looking for some volunteers to help make that run smoothly. And so if you are available, please let us know. But I'm very excited. The theme is it's something backyard, but really we're looking at the life of Jesus. And so it should be really fun. So those are just a few of the things that are happening coming up in the life of the church. I also want you to be aware that annual conference is coming up and they're starting to kind of put out some of the legislation and things that are happening at annual conference this year. And so if that's something you're interested, head over to dakotasumc.org and you can see kind of some of the things that they're publishing. I just want to let you know that for annual conference worship this year, we're not doing the live stream like we did last year. That service is just way too long for that. Instead, we're going to have someone here running the service, but you will get to hear the bishop preach. And so she's a wonderful preacher, and it's worth coming for that. But I just wanted to let you know, if you come to worship that day, it's not going to be a 2-hour commitment, I promise you. It will be for me, most likely, up in Bismarck and those of us who are there, but we recognize that that's just too long to sit and watch a live stream. So we are changing it up a little bit this year for that. So those are just, again, a few of the things that are happening in the life of the church coming up. So I thought I've been trying to figure out, what do I do with these last few podcasts that I have? And I've been feeling a little bit nostalgic today. And so I think what I would like to do is share some of my favorite memories of my time here. And they might be things that you remember as well. They might be things that you have no memory of, or you weren't here for it, or you think that's something that sticks out to you. Interesting. But I thought I would just start with that and share maybe some of the stories around why those things were meaningful to me and why I'm going to carry those things with me. Um, and they're in no particular order other than the things that just went what came to me first. And so the first thing that I thought about was something that happened very early on, and that was while we were still worshiping in the parking lot. Um, First of all, I just want to say how amazed I was when I came and the production that it took to get worship in the parking lot the way that it was being done. It was pretty phenomenal. There were people here setting up for that worship service like 4 hours ahead of time because it took that long to get all the pieces in place. And so I just want to recognize that how impressed I was um, by the commitment of the people and our ability to be able to do that. Now, I do remember, and I've shared with some people recently, like how hot it was. That there were times where I think, it was close to 100 degrees, if not over, for a couple of those services. Um, but what an interesting way to start my time there. But I will say, one of my favorite things that we did in that brief window that we were out there is we did a baptismal remembrance. And I remember early on with Craig, and I'm like, Craig, do we have sprinklers? And he just kind of looked at me like, what are you doing? And I had this crazy idea of I wanted to do a baptismal remembrance walking under sprinklers. And so we set up kind of the sprinklers along the sidewalk that ran between the church building and the street where there's the two railings and there's a tree right out here. And we had the sprinklers spraying over to make like this tunnel, this like beautiful. And when you walked under it, you didn't get like soaked, but you did get droplets of water as you walked through. And to this day, it's one of my favorite memories and my favorite ways I have ever experienced the baptismal remembrance. And I remember people walking through that and people I didn't really know yet, very well at all. And just how special of an experience that was. And a good introduction into like the staff for like Katie's gonna come up with some interesting things for us to do. And so for me, that was one of my favorite things, uh, creative one of my more creative moments for worship. And also just like I just remember that Craig just went with me on it and I've loved him ever since. So um that would be one of the first things I think about. And that happened very, very early on in our time together. The next one that came to my mind, thinking of like big things, our church the next summer partnered with Habitat for Humanity to help do a house build. And that house build um, really was focusing on partnering with faith organizations. They got a something from Thrive In, but it required so many hours of volunteers from churches. And so we were one of the partner churches. And not only did we have so many people show up to help in our shifts at the house, but we also had people who were there providing food and supporting in just so many ways. Um, and I love anytime we get to do hands-on things. That's really fun. But what I remember is that um, I was early on in my pregnancy with Abigail, like that I hadn't told anybody yet. And there were times where they were like, Katie, climb up on that thing. And I was trying to like find ways to get out of it without drawing attention to myself. And so I remember that I spent a lot of time sweeping things because it would keep me on the ground and kind of out of harm's way. But for me, it was just it was my first real taste of how hands-on this community and this church is, and how it is not difficult for us that if there is a great need like that, if there is a hands-on opportunity, this church is there. This church shows up in a mighty way, in fact. Um, And so, and then to go and be able to see that house finished and to be part of that blessing. And it was just a really cool experience. I'd done some work with Habitat in the past, but never as invested as I was in this project. And so that was a really cool experience, and one that I will cherish. And maybe in the future, if I get to do another one, I will dive in a little bit more willingly um, in some of the more perilous work. So, uh, the next one that came to my mind, but actually, as I was talking, another one came to my mind, and that is getting to go out to Tree of Life with Tom Gilmore and getting to see that mission and ministry out there. And the Gilmores have been very active, and this church has done a lot with Tree of Life and partnership on the reservations. And so that trip in particular, one, I learned so much about our church and that connection and that role. But also I had never been out to that one. I had been up to our North Dakota site, mission site, but I'd never been to the one here in South Dakota. And so that was a really special um, experience. And uh, I discovered Tom's dry humor and wit, and that he didn't, in fact, think I was, I always, when you meet him with a mask on, he kind of looks maybe a little intimidating. And what I discovered that day is he's a delight, and I enjoy and I cherish that memory too. The next one that came to my mind was we did a I had the impulse to go look at my shelf to grab the book, but of course I've packed it. Um, one summer we did a series called Let Go by Matt Mayofsky, and it's a series that I've done now in multiple churches, and it's one of my favorite books. And it's based on Moses and the Exodus and people in the wilderness and kind of um, that process of being in the wilderness, of being one place and not yet being in the new place, and what the process of becoming in order to be ready, letting go of this and being ready and willing to accept what's coming. Uh, a great book for transitions, honestly. We did that one summer. It's like an 8-week series. And then I had the crazy idea because at the end of maybe there's a theme to this is my favorite memories of this church are when you guys go with me on my ideas. Uh, but they crossed the Jordan River to get into the promised land. I'm like, well, we've got a river right here. And so at the last Sunday of that series after worship, I invited people to come out to Meridian Bridge, and we walked across the bridge as a way of like walking into whatever God has next for us. And that some of the people of the church were very quick to recognize that made Nebraska the promised land, and that was never my intention. But um, it was a really cool thing. It was a really cool memory. It was a really cool connection from like a Bible story to our own area in life. And I just remember thinking uh, how fun it was, how many people came, and in summer worship, and then to add on something. But I just really loved those moments where we've been able to connect what we're doing or do something kind of fun with it. So that one was really special to me. Again, partially because I love that series and I love that book, partially because I love doing interactive things, and partially because I was just so shocked that so many people were willing to do it with me. The next one that came to my mind was for many years, our Tiffany took our youth group up to Lake Ponce in May in order to help get the camp ready for its camping season. As many of you know, Lake Ponce Camp is very near and dear to my heart. I worked out there for 5 summers. I got married out there. I counseled out there for many years, and now I take my kids there to camp. It has a piece of my heart and a piece of my story, and so I took my family and we signed up to go along with the youth group one year to do that work to help get the camp prepped, and that was so much fun. Um, the youth group, I'd gotten to know those kids through confirmation, And not all of them. There were some that I got to know a little bit more and a little bit better on that trip. And my kids, getting to be a part of that. It was just giving back to a place I love so much and seeing the church that I serve be connected to it in that way as well. It just really meant a lot to me. Um, and also, again, I love being active in my faith. And so that was a really cool experience. They did it more than 1 year. We just went one time. It worked out for us to do that. This next one actually just happened this past year, and that was trunk or treat. Trunk or treat in general has been a joy. I love I love a theme. I love being creative. I love all of that. And so over the years, I've had a few different trunk or treat themes. We've had some indoors, we've had some outdoors, we've had better weather and not so great weather. Um, and we've had this competition going when we started doing it with Trinity and UCC for best trunk or favorite trunk. And Trinity has won every year. And we've had some really creative trunks. And I've been so proud of our youth and our church and really like investing and being involved in it and making it an incredible event. Um, and this year, it was the closest I've ever been to getting that pumpkin, that golden pumpkin. And what I've realized is that Trinity partially gets because it's their confirmation students and they really campaign to get your vote. Like they really are telling the kids and stuff, you need to vote for us. And I didn't do that. But I had the second most votes because I did K-pop Demon Hunter themed trunk and I was playing the music, and that was a big thing this year. And I was really proud of it. I finally actually just recycled the cat and bird that I had painted on cardboard for it because I wasn't ready to let it go yet. Um, but I loved that event. It's been such a great event. I love when we can work with other churches. And it was just good natured competition, but also what a great opportunity for us to be a part of the community and offer something and help people know that this is who we are. And um, man, I was so close. And I think if I would have been pushier with my like recruitment, I could have done that. But that's not who I am. But I'm really proud. I feel like I've gone out on a good note. Um, and what's funny is it's honestly probably the cheapest trunk that I did because I already had cardboard, so I had to buy some paint. And then I someone gave me flowers or yeah, and so like the flower pots were like it just all fit just right. I did a pizza theme 1 year. I did ghosts for a few years. I did a space themed 1 year. So I had a lot of fun with that. And if you've never been a part of that, I would hope that you would do that because it really is a good time. Um, and one of my favorite memories. All I wrote down all of the confirmation services. We just had a confirmation service. Confirmation is one of my favorite parts of being a pastor. I came out of youth ministry. I did that for a few years, and then camping ministry has been a part of my life. So working with children and youth, but youth in particular, has been a big part of the ministry that I've had. And in this church, it was the first time that I wasn't the youth leader, which was very different, but I kept confirmation because I love confirmation. I love the deep conversations with kids. I love as they're exploring what it means to be a Christian and asking really honest questions and diving deep into things. I just, those are some of my favorite times of ministry is things that have come out of confirmation. And so for me, the confirmation service is just the culmination of that. And the pride that I felt watching these young people like publicly claim the faith as their own and say that they are going to follow Jesus and getting some water on their heads, which I'm sure some of you were like, oh my gosh, what a crazy lady. But they're just precious, precious memories to me. And I'm so grateful to each one of those students that I've got that allowed me into their life for that amount of time and the connections that I have still with so many of them. Um, like those things really sit near and dear to my heart. And so all of the confirmation services, all of the projects that I watched the kids do and complete, and the way that they engaged with their faith, and the way they asked questions, and the mentors that came alongside and invested in those kids, like all of that matters. And I really felt like that's one place where I get to see the church be the church consistently. The next one um, are some mission opportunities, but in particular for me personally, it was something that I shared with my son Ethan. So I have three kids, as you know, if you're watching this. But of my three kids, Ethan is the one that I take to do mission work with me. Ben is a little bit too shy and a little bit too, those kind of events can be really overwhelming for him. And Abigail was too little. But Ethan became my little rock star. And so anytime that we've done the banquet, Ethan is right there with me. And anytime we've signed up for Loads of Love, Ethan is my partner in crime in that as well. And so for me, those were really special times, not just because getting to do that work of service and relational work, but also like getting to share that with my son and have that be a part of his life in faith, and that's just a natural, normal thing that we do. It became something that he really looked forward to, like really loved when we were going to the banquet. And Mom, I'm doing that with you, right? And he handed out the tickets, and like, it was he was doing it, like, and he didn't like it if I was going to hand out more tickets than him. Like, he would go to the door and make sure that it was his job. And one year we were handing out, I think, socks and mugs, and again, he was just my helper. And for Loads of Love, he was the one running around with the Tide Pods and the putting quarters in, and he just loved it. And so I think it was like pride as a mom, but also pride as a pastor, like watching kind of instilling these values in our children. Just I'm grateful that our church is doing these things that allowed my family to get to be a part of that and to benefit from the mission that we do. And so I loved all of those experiences, but they have a special place in my heart because of sharing that with Ethan. Uh, the, the next one has to do with Vacation Bible School, which we have coming up. But for a few years, we were doing a competition with the other churches in trying to get more kids signed up. And so Tiffany was developing different incentives for, if we have this many kids signed up, or if we have the most kids signed up, then this thing will happen. And so one year, Pastor Jacqueline over at the UCC church, she got like a ice cream sundae made on her head, and I was so grateful that because we had the most kids signed up, so then that's what they had, because they had the smallest group, and so she was such a good sport about it, but she was so picky, and so brought me great joy to watch her have that happen and to know it wasn't me. And one year, Craig got silly stringed, and that was also a delight to watch and be part of. But I love that kind of stuff. I used to do that a lot as a youth pastor as well, kind of crazy incentives. I dyed my hair black and purple for an incentive. I used When I was a youth pastor, I had really long hair, and one of the incentives was that I would get my hair cut in front of the youth group and donate to lots of love. Well, yeah, that sounds right. I'm so used to loads of love now. And so there's somewhere floating in the ether a video of that happening. I've been pied in the face, I don't know how many times. So I love kind of stunts and things like that. They're just a fun way to get kids excited about what they're doing. And again, and I also love as they get older that it's other people that can do some of these things too. So those are really fun memories, things that I look back on with great joy. Um, the next ones that I thought about were the dessert auction that we had for missions. And I just remember being so blown away by the generosity of the church. And also I got Karen Miller's lemon bars out of that. And I remember like making deals with Diane and Kish because we both wanted the lemon bars and we're like, okay, we're gonna make sure that we both get some of these and like the wheeling and dealing that went with it. But it was a great fundraiser. And again, just a reminder of the generosity of the church. Like that was so cool. But the one that I really loved was the chili cook-off. We had so many chilies, which was so awesome. And that Jason won it. And he, to this day, insists that the only reason he won was because people knew it was his chili and they wanted to vote for the pastor's husband. But I like to remind him that he made brisket chili and he smoked his own cheeses for it, and that it was quite delicious. Not to say other people's, I had many delicious chilies that day, but there was only one brisket chili. And he always said if the church ever did another chili cook-off, he thinks it should be blind, uh, so that you're not influenced by who made the chili and feel like you have to vote for them. And so um, I'm just still a really proud wife of the and know that I am blessed with a husband who loves to cook and does incredible things. Side note, also wonderful experience doing the chili cook-off with Habitat for Humanity. That was a great event, and I had nothing to do with making the chili. It was my job to be the cheerleader and to recruit people to come to the event. And so we had Bob Huey and Susan Shady and me were we had matching aprons on. And I will say we had the most people show up from our church, and you guys all were awesome and voted, and we got People's Choice for chili that day, which was really cool. Again, I think just a testament to our church and our willingness to support great things like Habitat for Humanity. Also, at that event, they had all of these door prizes that they were doing. And the big prize for the night was this big, beautiful wooden windmill that and as they were going through we didn't our name was not drawn for anything, and they get to the final one of the night and Jason looks over at me and he's like, we're gonna end up with that. And I was like, oh no, we're not. Someone was gonna get it. And they drew Ethan's name. Ethan at the time I think was 3 years old. And he won this giant windmill that is now in our front yard. And we've had to have many conversations about how are we getting that out of the ground because it has got cement anchors. And so if you see us digging in the front yard in the near future, that's what we're doing, is trying to get that windmill out because Ethan is very attached to his windmill. When we had our recent rummage sale, I think I had 3 or 4 offers of people who wanted to buy the windmill. And I said, that's not mine to sell. That is my son's. And so had really great experiences with chili cook-offs here in Yankton. The next one that really kind of, I think, falls in line with the food theme while I was on it was we did a Taste of Christmas Heritage potluck last year with Carol Becker and Marilyn Elwood were kind of the organizers of that event. And that was such a cool thing. Not only, I mean, one, I love a good potluck, but two, this one was really special because people were bringing in kind of like their special dishes that they make for Christmas or that is a family heritage. And then people also brought in items that were from their heritage, and it just created some really wonderful conversations. I got to bring lefse, which was my family's, holiday treat, and it comes from our Norwegian heritage, which then I discovered that Scott Parr's family also has a deep connection with lefse. And so we ended up with a great conversation, so like those things just really were cool. And I just loved that event for that because I love anytime that people get to connect and understand each other a little bit better. And there's no better way than doing that than over food. And so just a really wonderful event and one that I hope happens again. The next one that matters to me, I think, as clergy, were the Good Friday services that we had in the lounge. I had, again, Good Friday in like Ash Wednesday and those types of services I tend to get a little more creative with, are special ones. Blue Christmas as well. But there was something about, and I think especially the first time we did the Ash Wednesday service in the lounge with the cross in the middle and the candles around it. And it was a service that was heavily uh, featured silence. Um, there was just something about it. I just remember feeling this is a holy moment. And that was also the feedback that I received. And I remember especially one of the confirmands, when we did it again a couple years later, was so excited because it was his favorite service, a service that was primarily silent. And again, it just reminded me of the power that we can have in coming together and worshiping, and that it doesn't always have to look the same. There's value in our traditions, but also when, again, this church has just been so great at allowing me to try things, and I'm really grateful. And I feel like that was one of those moments where um, it just worked, and that's the Holy Spirit for you. So, and then the last one I'll talk about today, maybe I'll do another episode of this as I think of more things. Um, for me, this is less Pastor Katie and more Katie Ricky. I loved our women's night out, and I especially loved our board game night out. I'm a big board game person, and I married someone who tolerates board games, but it's not really his thing. And so I loved having, like once a month, getting to come here, and it wasn't every month, but playing board games. And they realized pretty quickly that I would come with a bag full of games, and usually I bought another game because it was my excuse to get a new game. And those, people brought snacks, and I just had the most fun doing those women's night out events and doing the board games. Our bowling was really fun too, and but the board game ones were my favorite, and the Christmas ones. Um, I got to know people. I got to see Lydia Gaziski get frustrated because we played a game that was called You Can't Say and she didn't realize how much she was saying and I kept dinging the bell, and I swear she wanted to choke me because she was like, "Stop ringing that bell." And I'd never thought that Lydia even had that in her to be that way. So, like you get to just know people in a different way. And for me, it was really just a social time, and allowed me to really just have some fun and get to do something I really enjoyed. And so I'm just grateful, I guess, because that was really special for me. And I'm grateful to all the people who were a part of it and who also found great joy in that. And again, something that I hope continues. And I know that Jason has really appreciated the men's night out as well, and grateful for this church and caring for us in that way. And I know it wasn't just for us, but that you allowed us to be a part of it in a way that we got to just be one of the girls, one of the guys. And so those again are very special memories for me. There are plenty more, and maybe I will do another episode of this, but those were the first ones that came to me of things that I will take with me and cherish, and maybe do again. I really think I gotta try that sprinkler thing again, because that was really fun. But again, just so grateful for this church, and especially what I would say is its heart for missions and its willingness to try. Its willingness to try new things, to be open, to not be so rigid, and to allow the Spirit to move. Those are real gifts that I have found in this church, and I'm so grateful. And so next week I have a very special episode. I'm not going to say what it is, but you're definitely going to want to tune in. And so I hope to see you in worship soon. And if not, we'll see you here again next week. God bless.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of What's Going On, a video and audio podcast of First United Methodist Church in Yankton, South Dakota. We'd love to have you join us for worship on Sundays at 10 a.m., either in person or via our live stream, which can be found at our website, www.firstumcyankton.org, or by searching First UMC Yankton on YouTube.